Hi Reddit. I'm Anna. I'm 34 now. But this story is about the version of me that barely made it to 18. The girl who learned how to cook, budget, lie to CPS, and cry silently in the shower, all before finishing high school. Let's rewind. I was 16 when my mom died. Sudden stroke. No warning. 1 minute she was alive, making pancakes. The next, I was standing in the ER, holding my 6-year-old brother while they told me we didn't have any more parents. My dad, never around. I think the last time I saw him, I was 7 and he was being shoved into a cop car. I never asked questions. My mom never offered answers. After she died, we were alone, really alone. Child services came, asked the usual questions. Do you have any relatives? No. Anyone who could take custody? Nope. Do you know where your father is? Yeah, probably in a bar or a grave. I lied through my teeth. Told them my uncle was helping. Told them I was almost 18. Told them I could handle it. And somehow they believed me. Because the system's tired. And if a teenage girl says, I got this, and doesn't look like she's on drugs, they stamp papers and move on. So I raised my brother. His name's Dylan. He was sweet, quiet, didn't understand much at first. Thought mom would come back after a nap. I didn't have time to grieve. I had to learn how to pack lunches, forge signatures, budget a $300 grocery cart for 2 months, and somehow still pass geometry. I worked evenings at a diner, weekends at a gas station. Sometimes I'd do stupid under-the-table gigs just to make rent. $20 to babysit. I'd take it. $50 to clean some weirdo's garage while he watched. I'd still take it. I needed that money. School became background noise. I was always tired. My grades slipped. I stopped showing up to football games and dances. Rumors started. Because of course they did. She's never around. She's probably a stripper. Her mom faked her death and ran off. I heard she sleeps with truckers for cash. Kids are cruel. Adults aren't much better. One teacher told me, maybe if you spent less time in the streets and more time in the books, you wouldn't be failing. I wanted to scream, but I needed the credit. So I just nodded and swallowed it. One day, I came home to find Dylan crying in the hallway. He said a kid at school told him I was a whore. He didn't even know what the word meant. Just knew it hurt. After that day with Dylan crying in the hallway, I sat him down and did what I always did when life got ugly. I lied. Hey buddy, you know people say mean stuff when they don't understand how strong we are, right? He sniffled. But why would they say that word? Because they're jealous I can make pancakes better than their moms. He laughed. Just a little. That was enough for me to keep going. But word spreads fast in small towns. And nothing gets twisted quicker than a girl with no parents, working nights, who suddenly stops talking to everyone. People started whispering. At school, at the diner, even at the damn grocery store. I heard it all. Is she dealing drugs? I saw her coming out of that guy's car. Why is her little brother always so dirty? He wasn't. But I couldn't afford new clothes every semester. And some people think wrinkles mean neglect. Then, one day, I got called into the principal's office. I thought it was about a missed assignment or something. No. The school counselor and a CPS rep were waiting. I felt my heart drop into my shoes. Anna, we're concerned. That word. Concerned. It's never a good thing. We've received reports that your home environment might not be safe for Dylan. Reports from who? We can't disclose that. Was it his teacher? That woman hates me because I wouldn't let Dylan join her after school prayer circle. Silence. Then they dropped the bomb. We'll need to do a wellness visit. I was shaking. You think I'm hurting him? No one's accusing. You just did. I went home that day in panic mode. Cleaned the apartment top to bottom. Scrubbed behind the stove. Washed every dish. Even ironed Dylan's damn Pokemon t-shirts. I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night Googling how to pass a CPS inspection on a burner phone with a cracked screen. The next day, they showed up. Woman in a blazer, notebook in hand. Smelled like someone who hadn't touched fast food in years. She walked through slowly. Took notes. Asked Dylan what he ate for breakfast. Asked me what I did for work. Checked the fridge. Opened closets. I was sweating bullets. But Dylan was sweet. Honest. Said I helped him with homework. Made spaghetti, even if it's just noodles and ketchup, and read to him at night. She looked at me and said, he seems well cared for. I almost collapsed. But before she left, she said one thing that stuck with me. You're doing a lot, Anna. But don't forget, you're still just a kid too. I wanted to scream. I don't get to be a kid. That's not in the budget. But I didn't. I just nodded. Like always. 2 weeks after the CPS visit, things started to slip. I was working longer hours. Midterms were coming. Dylan had a cold that wouldn't go away, and our heater barely worked. I was running on caffeine and panic. Every single day. I failed my English test. Skipped 2 history assignments. Missed a shift at the diner because I literally passed out in the supply closet between classes. When I called in, the manager said, "You need to get your life together, Anna." And all I wanted to say was, "I'm 17 and raising a human. What's your excuse, Greg?" But I needed the job. So I said, "Sorry, won't happen again." Then I threw up in the bathroom and went to work anyway. Dylan started acting different. Quiet. Jumpy. Less smiley. I figure it was the cold. Or school stress. Or maybe the fact that his classroom dad project turned into a pity fest. The other kids brought in photos. Dylan brought in nothing. The teacher called me, gently. Maybe we could let him write a letter to someone he sees as a father figure. I laughed. He thinks Batman's his dad. That work. She didn't laugh back. Then, one day I got a call from the school office. "You need to come in." Dylan punched another student. I left work early and ran there. He was sitting on a bench outside the principal's office, eyes red and fists clenched. I knelt in front of him. "What happened?" He sniffled. "He said you do bad stuff at night, that you kiss strangers for money." My heart shattered. All the strength I had left slipped out of me, and I told him he was a liar. So I hit him. The principal wanted to suspend him. Said violence wasn't tolerated. I asked what they were doing to stop the rumors about me, since clearly they'd heard them too. No one had an answer. I looked that principal in the eye and said, "You want to punish a 7-year-old for defending the only family he has left? Go ahead. But I'll take this all the way to the district, and the press, and God if I have to." He backed down, gave Dylan a warning. But the damage was done. That night, Dylan cried himself to sleep. And for the first time, I couldn't console him, because I wasn't even sure I was doing the right thing anymore. I sat on the kitchen floor with a cold slice of toast and stared at the wall until the sun came up. I was breaking, and I couldn't afford to. It started with a letter. Yes, a literal letter. Folded twice. No return address. Just my name on the front in shaky handwriting. Inside, "Anna, I heard about your mother. I'm sorry. I know I've been gone. I want to make things right. Here's my number." And then a phone number scribbled underneath. "No love, Dad." No explanation. Just a ghost that suddenly remembered he had unfinished business. I stared at it for days. Taped it to the fridge, then took it down. Put it in my math book, then threw it across the room. But finally, one night after work, after Dylan went to bed, I dialed it. He picked up on the second ring. His voice. Rough. Smoky. Like someone who'd spent a lifetime yelling in bars and never quite stopped. "Anna." "Yeah, it's me." Silence. Then, "You sound grown." I didn't know what to say. We talked for 5 minutes. Mostly awkward, mostly vague. He asked about Dylan. Asked if we were okay. I lied. Said we were managing. He offered to meet. And against all my instincts, I said yes. Because part of me still remembered a man with stubble and strong arms who lifted me onto his shoulders once at a fair and made me feel like I could fly. Even if that memory was a lie. We met at a diner outside town. He looked older than I expected. Tired. Leather skin. Yellowing eyes. He smiled when he saw me. "You look like her." "You don't." He laughed. I didn't. We ordered coffee. I didn't touch mine. He launched into small talk. How he's been trying to stay clean. How he's got a room in a friend's basement. How things are better now. I listened. Then I asked, "Why now?" His smile faded. I didn't know she passed. Not until a few weeks ago. Thought you might need help. Help how? I could take the boy off your hands for a while. Give you a break. The blood in my veins turned to ice. What? Just for a bit. Might be good for him. Male influence and all. You disappeared for over a decade, and now you want to take the boy. I'm trying to make amends. You don't get to drop in like this and act like a savior. He shifted in his seat, offended. You think I don't have rights? I think you gave them up when you walked out on a toddler. I stood up, tossed cash on the table. We don't need saving. Not from you. Anna, if you really want to help, disappear again. This time for good. And I walked out. That night, Dylan asked where I'd gone. I told him the truth. He looked up at me with wide eyes. I don't want to go with him. You won't. And I meant it. It started with a cough. No big deal. Just a little dry tickle in Dylan's throat. Then came the fever. Then the chills. Then he passed out in the kitchen while I was heating up ramen. I didn't even have time to scream. I just grabbed my purse, scooped him up, and ran. No ambulance. Couldn't afford it. I flagged down my coworker who lived 2 floors below, and he drove us to the ER in record time. They took him in fast. Small kid, high fever, fainting, they don't wait. I sat in that stiff plastic chair in the waiting room with his jacket in my hands, still warm, shaking so hard I bit the inside of my cheek to stay upright. After what felt like an hour, a nurse came out. He's stable. They're running tests. Might be pneumonia. Pneumonia. Jesus. Do you have insurance? I shook my head. She sighed. Do you have a guardian form? Power of attorney? Anything. I froze. I had nothing. No legal custody. No birth certificate. No permission slip from the universe that said I'm allowed to be this boy's everything. Only love. But apparently, love doesn't fill out forms. They let me in anyway. I guess desperation looks a certain way on a face. Dylan was sleeping, for in his arm, face pale but breathing normal again. I sat next to him and held his hand. You're gonna be okay, kid. I promise. I didn't know if I was lying. The doctor came in a few hours later. Confirmed pneumonia. Said he'd be okay with antibiotics and rest, but they wanted to keep him overnight just to monitor. Then came the real gut punch. You'll be responsible for the full cost of stay. Without insurance, we're talking a few thousand. Maybe more. I nodded, like I had that kind of money in my sock drawer. I called in every favor I could think of. Pawned my laptop. Sold the rest of Jake's old gaming stuff I still had stashed. Begged my manager for an advance on my check. He gave me $100, and it looked like he expected me to offer something more. I left before he could say it. Dylan came home 2 days later. We were in debt. Rent was late. The lights got shut off for a night. But he was alive, and I would have burned the whole damn city down if that's what it took. That week, I looked in the mirror and saw a version of myself I barely recognized. Dark circles, calloused hands, and a fire in my chest that burned through every tear. I wasn't giving up, because no one else was going to fight for us but me. It showed up on a Tuesday, just sitting in the mailbox like it belonged there. No stamp, no name, no handwriting. Just a plain white envelope with $500 in cash inside. Crisp bills, 20s and 50s. No note, no explanation. I looked around the hallway like maybe someone was watching me, waiting for my reaction. There was no one. I stood there, frozen, holding the envelope like it might explode. That night, I laid it out on the kitchen table. Dylan was asleep in our room. The fridge was nearly empty. The internet had been shut off that morning. I still owed the hospital at least $2,000. And here was this money. Free. Or so it seemed. I stared at it for an hour. My brain went in circles. Who would have left it? The neighbors? Unlikely. They could barely afford their own rent. The social worker? Maybe, but I doubted she even remembered our names. My dad? Hell no. He wouldn't give me $5 if I was on fire. For a moment, I thought about not using it. Maybe returning it to the post office. Reporting it to someone. But who? There's no hotline for anonymous charity. But then I opened the fridge again and saw 1 slice of bread, half a tomato, and a jar of pickles. That sealed it. I used $100 to buy groceries. $200 to pay down the ER bill. The rest went toward keeping the lights on and loading a prepaid phone card. I still felt guilty, like I'd accepted a bribe I couldn't trace. But when Dylan woke up to cereal and juice instead of crackers and tap water, he smiled. And that smile shut up every voice in my head whispering, "You're failing." 2 weeks later, another envelope came. Same style, same amount, same total mystery. This time I didn't hesitate. I paid rent, bought him shoes that actually fit, even got a new notebook for school. Mine was falling apart. Still no note, no clue, just quiet kindness, dropped into a metal box in a crumbling apartment hallway. But it wasn't just about the money anymore. It was the first time I didn't feel completely invisible. Someone, whoever they were, saw me. And maybe they didn't say, "I believe in you." Maybe they didn't knock on the door with a speech and a savior complex. But they gave me enough to breathe. And that was everything. It happened on a Thursday. I was walking Dylan home from school. He was excited, waving a flyer for some science fair thing, and asking if we could build a volcano. I lied and said yes. Again, because lying was cheaper than explaining why baking soda and vinegar didn't make the cut this month. We passed the corner store, and the guy who worked there, Mr. Tony, waved from behind the register. Then he said something strange. "Hey, Anna, need anything today?" Or are you good with the help from your friend? I stopped. What friend? He blinked. That guy. Same one who dropped the envelope for you last week. Time froze. What did he look like? Tall. Wore a cap low. Hoodie. Looked familiar. What? Which direction did he go? Back toward the school, I think. I stood there like an idiot, trying to process what I just heard. That night, I sat on the couch and thought about it. Who could it be? I ran through every name I could think of. No one made sense. Until I remembered someone I hadn't seen in over a year. Mr. Reynolds. He was my senior year English teacher. One of the few who didn't treat me like trash. I'd written an essay about grief once. Raw. Ugly. Honest. He gave me an A+ and wrote, "You're a fighter. If no one ever tells you that." Remember I said it. Then graduation happened, and I never saw him again. The next day, I walked to the high school during lunch period. Waited outside his classroom like I belonged there. He came out holding a coffee and did a double take when he saw me. "Anna." "Hi. Wow, it's been a while. How are you?" I smiled. "Alive. That's something." I didn't waste time. "Was it you?" "Was what me?" "The envelopes. The cash. Was that you?" He paused. Didn't deny it. Didn't play dumb. He just looked at me and said, "You needed it. And I could help." "What?" "Because when you showed up to school with bags under your eyes and a little boy's homework in your binder, I knew what was happening. No one said anything. No one did anything. So I did. I never asked for it." "I know. That's what made it real." I felt my throat tighten. Not because I was ashamed, but because it was the first time an adult had seen me. Really seen me. And instead of judging or reporting or questioning, he just helped. No lecture. No savior speech. Just a quiet act of compassion. "You changed everything," I whispered. He smiled. "No, you did that. I just gave you enough room to breathe." It was a Monday. One of those weirdly warm spring days where the sun feels fake and everyone's in a weird mood. Dylan was supposed to walk straight home. We had a routine. He knew it. I knew it. But 3:45 came. Then 4 o'clock. Then 4:20. Still no Dylan. At first, I thought maybe he stopped at the corner store. Maybe he stayed behind to help a teacher. Maybe he made a new friend. But deep down, I knew something was off. I texted. No answer. Called. Straight to voicemail. I dropped everything and sprinted toward the school. Breath short. Legs burning. I didn't even lock the door behind me. At the school office, the woman behind the desk looked bored until she saw my face. "He's not here," she said. "Have you checked? Has anyone seen him since dismissal?" She made a few calls. Checked attendance logs. Said his teacher marked him present that morning, but no one saw him after lunch. My chest tightened. "You need to call someone," I said. "Like who?" "I don't know. Police. Child Services. The freaking National Guard." I was halfway through dialing 911 when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up fast. "Anna." It was him. My father. "Don't freak out. Dylan's with me." I stopped breathing. "You did what?" "He found me." "Okay." I didn't take him. "Where are you?" He gave me the address. A crappy motel outside of town. I didn't ask questions. Didn't wait. Didn't call the cops. I just ran. The motel was everything I imagined. And worse. Stained carpet. Broken ice machine. Cigarette smell in the air like it was piped through the vents. I banged on door 6C. It opened slowly. Dylan stood there. Eyes wide. Hands fidgeting. He said he just wanted to talk. I pulled him into me so fast he gasped. "You scared the hell out of me." "I'm sorry. I wanted to see if he was, maybe not bad." I turned to the man standing behind him. "You don't ever go near him again. He showed up on his own, Anna. I swear. And you didn't think to call me?" I didn't know what to say. "Try. Your son is here. Come get him." That would have worked. He stepped forward. I didn't take him. I just talked. He said he doesn't remember me. He's not supposed to. I just wanted to make peace. I looked him dead in the eyes. "You don't get peace. You get absence. And if I find out you went near his school again, I will call the cops." "You think I'm dangerous?" "I think you're a stranger. And strangers don't get second chances just because they share blood." I took Dylan's hand and walked out. He didn't say a word the whole way home. That night, as I tucked him into bed, he whispered, "I thought maybe you could help. Like with money or something. So you didn't have to work so much." My heart broke again. "Baby, you are never responsible for fixing me. That's my job." He nodded, eyes heavy. "I like us better, anyway." Graduation wasn't magical. It was hot. The gown was stiff. My shoes were falling apart, and I had to borrow a cap because I couldn't afford the real one. But I made it. Barely. I passed my finals by the skin of my teeth. One teacher gave me a mercy grade after seeing me sleep through a test with a diner apron still tied around my waist. Dylan sat in the front row, swinging his legs and holding a handmade sign that said, "Go Anna. You're the best sister ever." It was written in crayon and covered in smiley faces. My heart almost exploded. I didn't invite anyone else. Not family. Not fake friends. No one who ever whispered behind my back or made me feel small. Just Dylan and Mr. Reynolds, who promised he'd come but didn't say where he'd sit. When they called my name, I walked across that stage like it was on fire. Not graceful. Not glamorous. Just determined. I shook hands, took the fake diploma, smiled for the photo, and when I turned toward the crowd, that's when I saw her. My mom's sister, Aunt Lisa. I hadn't seen her in almost 10 years. She lived in another state, barely kept in touch after the funeral. I figured she'd written us off like everyone else. But there she was, third row, hands clasped over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. After the ceremony, I found her outside the gym. We stared at each other for a second. Then she pulled me into the tightest hug I'd had in years. "You did it," she whispered. "I didn't even know if you'd still talk to me. I didn't know you remembered me. Anna, I never forgot. I just didn't know how to help. I was scared I'd make it worse. I didn't have the energy to unpack it. Not then." But Dylan ran up to us, holding 2 juice boxes and beaming. "Who's this?" "This is Aunt Lisa," I said. "She used to know Mom." Lisa knelt down and hugged him. He didn't flinch. That meant everything. We sat on a bench and talked for over an hour. She apologized, explained how grief had paralyzed her after losing her sister, how ashamed she was that she let me do it all alone. Then she said something I didn't expect. "If you're ready, I'd like to help now. Really help." "What does that mean?" "You and Dylan. You can stay with me. Finish school. Maybe breathe for a while." I didn't answer right away. But for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like I was choosing between survival and pride. I'm 34 now. Married. Steady job. Mortgage I mostly hate, but pay on time. Dylan's 24. He's in grad school. Wants to be a counselor. Says he wants to help kids who go through too much too young. I think he already has. We talk every day. Still joke about ramen nights and our janky heater that whined like a ghost at 2 a.m. Still remember the hallway fights and cold pasta dinners like it was another life. Because in many ways, it was. Living with Aunt Lisa gave us breathing room. It wasn't perfect. She had rules, expectations, grief of her own. But it was the first time we didn't have to worry about lights getting shut off or hospitals refusing service because we were too poor to matter. I got to go to community college. Dylan started drawing again. He had his first real birthday party. We ate dinner at a table. You don't realize how much that means until you haven't done it in years. Fast forward. I'm sitting at my kitchen table, sipping coffee, answering emails. Dylan shows up unannounced. As usual. Big smile. Hand behind his back. "Close your eyes." "Seriously? Just do it." I close my eyes. Hear some rustling. A thud. A pause. "Okay, open." It's a shoebox. Old. Taped up. Familiar handwriting on the lid. My heart stutters. "Is this?" He nods. "Found it when I was going through the attic at Aunt Lisa's. You packed it when we moved and forgot it." I open it slowly. Inside, my old diner apron. His crayon graduation sign. A photo of me asleep on the couch, Dylan curled on my chest. A note I wrote once on a napkin that said, "No matter what, I got you." I stare at it, throat tight. Then I see a letter. New paper. Fresh ink. I open it. "I know I can't ever repay what you did for me, but I can live the way you taught me. Honest, kind, and never backing down. So I want you to know, when I get my degree, I'm dedicating it to you. My sister. My mom. My everything." I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not because I was broken. Because I'd finally healed. Some scars don't fade, but they stop hurting. And one day, they just become proof that you made it through. And we did. Together. See you later.